Hello, hello, and welcome to Inklings with Irena, the weekly energy show connecting you to your intuitive guidance system. And today I'm talking about the 3 steps to help you connect to peace every day, or to connect with peace. So thanks so much for joining me. My name is Irena. If we haven't met yet, I'm an intuitive energy guide, spiritual life coach, and energy alchemist. It is my joy to weave together these sacred practices that I've been studying for over 2 decades. Everything from yoga to crystals to cards to tuning forks. Oh my goodness, I love to learn these sacred practices and create specific energy recipes to serve my clients and you. I'm so glad you're here. So as you jump on, let me know where in the world you are. Is it cool where you are? Is it sunny and hot? And are you in the celebrating mood? Because if you're watching with me live, we are near the holidays, and it is a time of year where peace can very much be on people's minds and in people's hearts. But it can also be the last thing that we feel because we're rushing against deadlines. And these deadlines, some of them are in our hands and some of them are out of ours. I saw this great meme because I was on a call with a client today, and she said, I need to stop tracking packages because packages are taking their time. We have no control over when they will arrive for the holidays. And this meme that I saw said, stop tracking packages. It's in the Lord's hands now. And I got a giggle. But it made me think of what I want to share with you today, which is the 3 P's to experiencing peace in everyday living. The first P, and this is what I've been sharing with my clients and working on myself for years on. I'm still working on myself with this. So it's definitely in action experience. But the first P is pace. Sometimes we have deadlines that we're rushing up against. And when it comes to peaceful living, it's important to evaluate these deadlines. Sometimes they're deadlines we place on ourselves. Like I have one client who's getting ready to launch a new program, and she had it all set to launch mid-January. And as she gets closer to that launch date, she realizes, wait a second, if I hold myself to that deadline, I'm not going to have any peace over the holidays. I won't have a chance to serve my clients best and be with my family. So she's giving herself a moment to evaluate the pacing that's been set. Now, sometimes pace is out of our control. Other people set it for us. Maybe the boss at work, and we have a deadline to meet. But there are ways that we can approach pace that is very loving. So, for example, maybe we decide that sleep is important. There's only so many hours in the day, but because sleep is important, we'll prioritize that because that's very loving towards ourselves over maybe, let's say, watching a favorite show or maybe exercising at that moment in time just for a temporary period. But we can adjust the pace a little bit. Hello, good to have you, Karen. So great. So yeah, give me a quick shout out when you jump on. And so great to have you from Hawaii. And do you pronounce your name Wana? Oh, it's such a beautiful name. It's so cool to connect with you live. Yay. So that pace is an important aspect to having peace. Somewhere along the way, and I couldn't find it. I tried looking it back up on Google, but maybe you found this. Once upon a time, I heard the Dalai Lama say that everybody would be more peaceful if we just left a half an hour earlier to get to our destination. And I love that because it is so true. Often we're rushing against the clock. We're trying to meet these deadlines. So when it comes to everyday peace, double check the pace that you've either set for yourself or that someone else has set for you, and refine and adjust it to bring more peace into everyday living. A large part of the energy we're moving into after the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that happened on Monday on the winter solstice is based on being loving towards ourselves. We're moving out of the old Capricorn energy of, I'm going to achieve A, B, C and get these letters after my name and have this career. Because a lot of times when we set those kind of ideals, we forget to take into account our feelings and the fact that we might want rest time or playtime. we didn't include that. So check in with the pacing. The next one is pathway. Now, this is a really interesting one for me. I get goosebumps because I like to take the hard way. And I think about this often because when people have been in my life who've been very sweet and they're like, Irena, just make it easy on yourself. Use paper plates for the holiday. Or, make it easy on yourself. You don't have to run to that store to get that item. Just make do with this. And usually, all right, I'll acquiesce. It makes sense, but it's frustrating. I thought, why do I always take the hard way? And so it started to percolate within me that there's something that comes, a satisfaction that comes from challenges versus empty wins. There's this great feeling of preparing for a marathon. I ran a half marathon years ago and it was thrilling. I didn't know if I'd make it, like even make it to the event because I got an injury along the way. And it was tough waking up every morning and, getting in those miles and running because I'm not a runner. And I did check it and get it off my bucket list and I haven't been back in like 10 years. Maybe I'll revisit one day, but it was thrilling to get to the other side, to cross that finish line. It was hard. It wasn't an easy path, but there was such great reward in working towards something, towards this big goal. So when I talk about pathway and finding peace every day, there's an important distinction between taking the hard way versus the easy way. Because a lot of people in the world of woo, they'll talk about taking the path of least resistance. And something that I've really come to learn over the years is that doesn't have to be the easy way. It definitely could be. But for those of you out there who like a challenge, who find reward at showing up and working hard or working in such a way that you feel like I've pushed beyond what I thought was capable of myself, not pushing too much or pushing so far that you burn out, but just doing more than you thought was humanly possible for yourself. There's some kind of exhilaration that comes with that. So I invite you, when you look at your pathway, to start to evaluate. Is it just that you're pushing, or is it that you're kind of playing with what you thought was even possible for yourself? But evaluating your pathway is a big step on the road towards everyday peaceful experiences. And again, I'm going to come back to kind of the common theme, the way you can double check it. Like, is this a pathway towards peace? Check it and see if it's loving towards yourself. So like with the example of running the marathon, when I got injured, I realized if I keep running at the pace that I have been, then I'm only going to make it worse and I may not get to the race at all. So to be loving towards myself, I needed to pull back on my training a little bit. I went to see a variety of healers and it was wonderful. First time I experienced cranial sacral therapy was 10 years ago with that. And that was amazing. It really helped in the healing process. So the final P is practicality. I make that noise, right? I really need to hear all of this. I think I channeled this because I needed this information and I wanted to share it with you. But practicality. Sometimes our eyes are just too big for our tummies. And I say that because, if you've ever had that experience where something looks so good and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to devour that wonderful holiday feast. And then it's like, oh, why did I do that? I ate too much. My eyes were bigger than my stomach. But there are times where, especially around goal setting, which at the end of one year, getting ready for the next, there is a lot of goal setting that's happening. And we can slip into that Capricorn energy because we're in the sun sign of Capricorn and say, okay, my goals for this new year, I'm going to in the first quarter, sign this many clients. I'm going to sell this many widgets. I'm going to have, this is my word of the year. And I'm going to travel here and go there. And we make all of these plans. But if we were to kind of scale back and look at the practicality of it, again, like with the pace and the pathway, we might realize, wow, this isn't very loving towards myself. Or you might realize, ooh, I'm trying to reach a certain ideal that maybe has been set by example by another, but it's not necessarily for me. And that's kind of one of what I say is like a cool tip to take into account. One of these like cooking tips. It's like, oh, for great success, take this into account, which is it's wonderful to have heroes and mentors and to be inspired by others. But when we try to emulate them very closely, it can get very frustrating. If you've ever, I tend to be shorter. I have short legs and my husband's very tall. And there can be those moments where when you walk, it's kind of like for every step of his, I have to take like 1.5. So to keep up with people sometimes, our strides don't match. Like if you've ever been to the beach and you've seen footprints in the sand and you try to like walk in the same footprints, it's awkward. Like maybe they walk too close. Maybe it's too much of a stride. Maybe they were running and you're trying to walk. It can get very frustrating and we start to beat ourselves up. So when you look to those people who inspire you and you try to emulate them and follow their planning programs or their systems and you're like, why won't it work? I want to invite you to take a deep breath and again, be loving towards yourself and say, there are certain things that are going to come very naturally to them, certain techniques and wonderful abilities they were born with that I may not necessarily possess. I may have to develop them. It's not that I can't have them, but I may have to work on it a little bit more. And then you may have gifts in other areas, most definitely you do, that they don't. And so give yourself just that little bit of grace when you're setting your goals, especially if you're inspired by another. Don't try to match exactly, but tune into what would be loving for yourself. So to kind of wrap this all up, the 3 steps that you can take, the 3 Ps to experience peace in everyday living. First one is pace. What kind of pace are you setting for yourself or has been set for you? That might need fine tuning. And then the next one is pathway. You taking the hard way or the easy way? And I'm like, hard way, hard way. And that's okay, right? There's a challenge in that. But tune in and say, is it loving towards yourself, right? Final P, practicality. Are you biting off more than you can chew? Are your eyes bigger than your stomach? Is a goal that's been set really not necessarily logical? And believe me, I am all for miracles. I love a good miracle. And I totally believe in them. I don't like to believe in the practical or the logical, yet I do. And so it's a good way to add more peace just to check in with that. So thanks so much for joining me live. Let me know where you're watching from. I love to connect with you. Lots of fun friends to make around the world. And happy, happy holidays to you wherever you are. And may your days be filled with wonderful waves of peace, love, and joy. And to continue this adventure, if you want more peaceful practices, click the link, come play with me, and a wonderful community that really focuses on peace. All right, lots of love. Catch you on the flip side, guys. Bye.